to a new video. Welcome back to Bookmas Day. I don't know what day it is. Hold on. Today is day 5 of Bookmas, and yes, this is the same outfit I had on the first day of Bookmas because I filmed this on the same day. So let's get through this real quick. Let's start from the beginning of my reading journey and all of that. I rediscovered my love for reading back in 2022. We were coming out of the pandemic, and honestly, I feel like I really found my love for reading during the pandemic, but the difference is that I didn't really go through the pandemic just finding new books that I love or anything really. I started with some self-help books on mental health and all of that, and I started from there, and then I started reading some Christian nonfictions, and I read a Christian fiction book in 2022. I think that's really where I started to grow my love for reading again. I read Francine Rivers' Redeeming Love that was made into a movie. It was one of the first book contents I devoured in early 2022. So I think I read Redeeming Love around April of 2022, and then I started diving into other Christian nonfictions that I absolutely love. And then after reading a lot of Christian nonfictions, I thought that I would give it a try because I stumbled upon Haley Pham's videos, and I just started devouring all of her contents on YouTube, book stuff, non-book stuff. Absolutely loved her channel. Sparks flew. From now on, I'm going to be talking about books and make books my whole entire personality because I love books. Truth be told, I've loved reading since I was a kid. I remember my mom bringing me to the bookstores when I was younger. That has sadly closed since, but I remember my mom bringing me to the bookstores when I was younger, and that was the equivalent of Kidzania for my Jakarta girlies, my Indonesian girlies. You guys know this, but I absolutely loved the bookstore. That is literally the equivalent of a theme park for me when I was a kid. Bring me to a mall, bring me anywhere really, I wouldn't be as excited as I was when I went to a bookstore. Especially, okay, this is going to be going on a rant, but let's talk a bit before we go into the 2025 TBR. Back then, when I was younger, there was this local bookstore here in Indonesia, in Jakarta. It was called Aksara, and I absolutely loved it. It was a really cozy place. It had tons, and I mean tons of books, endless books, and they also had this station where we could just listen to songs. We could buy vinyls, we could buy cassette tapes, we could buy albums. It was amazing, and they had really cute other miscellaneous stuff. They had puzzles, they had notebooks, they had journals, pens, tote bags, they had mugs. Literally amazing. And then another bookstore that I absolutely love that we had here in Jakarta, we still have it, but it's a smaller bookstore now, and they don't have as much as they used to, and that is Kinokuniya, and it is an Asian, I think it's it's an Asian bookstore. I think it originated from Japan. Absolutely love that bookstore. I remember when I was younger, I used to go to Kinokuniya every week because the mall near my house when I was younger growing up, they had one of the biggest Kinokuniyas I've ever seen, and they had the most amazing books. I would be in the bookstore for hours when I was younger because I just loved. You could literally sit down at the bookstore. They had this section where you could just sit and read, and I remember when I was younger, a lot of people did that. They were in the bookstore in that specific mall in Kinokuniya. They would be at the bookstore in their section. They were reading the books, they were just sitting down and taking their time, and that was something that I did as well. Sadly, it closed in that mall. It was one of the best childhood moments I've ever had. Anyways, I digress. So let's talk about my 2025 TBR. That was a very long intro for just a 2025 TBR, honestly. So every year I like to make a list of 20 something books according to the year. This year was 24 books. Next year is going to be 25 books for 2025. Haven't gotten to 25 yet, but I do have a couple of books that I know are going to be on my 2025 TBR, whether that be me continuing a book series, or me going to start a popular book that I haven't read yet, or a new release. I have my list here on my laptop. So the first on my list is Say You'll Remember Me by Abby Jimenez. Say you'll remember me, standing in a nice dress, sitting at the sunset, babe. All of the Swifties, I know that song came on your mind the first time you read this title, but Say You'll Remember Me by Abby Jimenez is the first book on my 2025 TBR, and I'm so excited for this book. We're going to read the blurbs from Goodreads. It is expected to be published by April 1st of 2025. I'm very excited for this book, so we're going to go ahead and read the summary of the book. There might be no such a thing as a perfect guy, but Xavier Rush comes disastrously close. A gorgeous veterinarian giving Greek god vibes, all while cuddling a tiny kitten. Immediately, yes. That is until Xavier opens his mouth and proves that even sculpted gods can say the absolute wrong thing. Like, really wrong. Of course, there's nothing Samantha loves more than proving an asshole wrong. Wow. Unless, of course, he can admit he made a mistake. But after one incredible and seemingly endless date, possibly the best in living history, Samantha is forced to admit the truth that her family is in crisis and any kind of relationship would be impossible. Samantha begs Xavier to forget her, to remember their night together as a perfect moment, as crushing as that may be. Only no amount of distance or time is nearly enough to forget that something between them. And the only thing better than one single perfect memory is to make a life, and even a love, worth remembering. Oh my god, okay. I'm excited for this book. So that's Say You'll Remember Me by Abby Jimenez, expected to be published on April 1st of 2025. You already know I'll be running to the bookstore by then. The next book on my list is Wild Side by Elsie Silver, which is the third book in the Rose Hill series. Follows Wild Love, Wild Eyes, and then Wild Side. So we're going to be following both Tabitha and Reese from the previous books that we got introduced to them. Let's read the blurb for this book. Hold on, it's getting a little bit cold. I'm gonna go ahead and get my jacket. Hold on. Okay, I'm back. I had to put on a cardigan because it was way too cold and freezing, and I decided to take my hair down so that the back of my neck won't freeze to death. Okay, so let's read the blurb for Wild Side. I'd always dreamed of my wedding day, but not like this, not looking into the eyes of the men who betrayed me. This is going to be so good. But when my nephew's guardianship is contested, I decide I'll do whatever it takes to keep him in Rose Hill, even if it means marrying the enemy, Riz Dupreez. A man who is secretive, broody, and completely infuriating. A man whose work takes him away for weeks on end and brings him back covered in mysterious bruises, ones he won't talk about. In fact, we barely talk at all, which would be fine, except when he's not talking. He's staring, and the way he looks at me is borderline indecent. The tension between us has always been palpable, but living under the same roof is a dangerous temptation. I swore I would never forgive him, but that was before I knew the man behind the mask. The one who's fierce and protective, the one who's gentle and patient, the one who shows up for us when we need him most. He's not at all who I thought he was, and that makes hating my husband so much harder and loving him just a little too easy. No, these are getting way too good. Elsie Silver, if you're seeing this, would you be willing to send me an art copy of Wild Side to Indonesia? Because, oh my god, this is absolutely amazing. I I'm excited, and it is expected to be published by March 1st of 2025. I am so excited for 2025, honestly. I just know it's going to be really, really great. And so we know that this book is a marriage of convenience. I'm guessing it is a marriage of convenience. It is a forced proximity, obviously, second chance. I'm excited. Next book on my list is Rewind It Back by Liz Tromford, which is the 5th book in the Windy City series. And let's read the blurb. Oh, okay, well, there's not really a blurb of the book. Wait, what? Anyways, it is expected to be published by April 24th of next year, and I'm very excited for this book because I absolutely ate up these 2 books, and I'm excited for the next book, honestly, because I think like Ryo is just one of those like funny characters, and I'm excited to know his character in the book. The next book on the list is Fearless by Lauren Roberts. Absolutely love that. I love how these songs are like songs? No. I love how these book titles are giving Taylor Swift. Fearless is the 3rd book in the Powerless book series. I have it right there. I don't know if you guys can see it, but it's right up there. Fearless by Lauren Roberts is the 3rd book in the Powerless trilogy. Yeah, the only blurb that we have in the back of this book is Peyton Gray and Kai Azar return to the kingdom of Ilya, and Peyton has a life-altering choice to make. Whatever she decides will determine her fate and the fate of those around her forever, in the ultimate battle of love and loyalty. Who wins? If you guys already read The End of Reckless, you guys know, and I have a reading vlog dedicated to reading Reckless, and my jaw absolutely dropped at the end of the book. But I actually already predicted the ending in the middle of the book. I think like somewhere around the middle of the book, I like predicted that this was going to be the ending, and it was proven to be true. And I actually am excited for the 3rd book. Again, I loved Powerless. Reckless was actually really good as well. I think at the time I gave it a 5-star, but I think I could lower it to like a 4.5-star because like I'm not thinking about it as much as I thought about Powerless, which was like non-stop. Like I was always thinking about Powerless when I finished it last year. But yeah, Reckless was like the in-between book, and Lauren herself said that it is like the in-between book, and that the pace will be picked up, the plot will be back on the 3rd book. So I'm very excited for that. And on Goodreads, it is expected to be released on April 8th of next year. So very excited. Oh my goodness. March, April, and May. No? March and April. I think March and April. 3 books, and it's going to be all released in March and April. Okay. The next book on the list for my 2025 TBR is One Golden Summer by Carly Fortune. I somewhat have developed a taste for Carly Fortune's books. I read her books last year, and that was the first time I read her books, and I didn't quite enjoy the first 2 books, but this year when I read the Summer Will Be Different, it really took a turn for me. I actually really like it. I find myself thinking about the characters sometimes and like remembering the plot of that book, and it was a really good read. I think I rated it like a 3.75. I think it was very enjoyable, and I think like it is just like the beginning of summer tradition, I feel like, to read a Carly Fortune book. And so I'm excited for this One Golden Summer, and we're going to be reading the blurb because they have the blurb for this book. So, I never anticipated Charlie Florrick. Wait, isn't this the character from... Yeah, From Every Summer After. Yeah, exactly. Okay. Good things happen at the lake. That's what Alice's grandmother says. And it's true. Alice spent just one summer at a cottage with Nan when she was 17. It's where she took that photo, the one of 3 grinning teenagers in a yellow speedboat, the image that changed her life. Now Alice lives behind a lens. As a photographer, she's most comfortable on the sidelines, letting other people shine. Lately, though, she's been itching and itching for something more, and when Nan falls and breaks her hip, Alice comes up with a plan for them both. Another summer in that magical place, Barry's Bay. But as soon as they settle in, their peace is disrupted by the roar of a familiar yellow boat and the man driving it. Charlie Florek was 19 when Alice took his photo from afar. Now he's all grown up and a shameless flirt. Okay, we're giving it's giving Isaiah vibe. Who manages to make Nan laugh and Alice long to be 17 again when life was simpler, when taking pictures was just for fun. Sun-slanted days and warm nights out on the lake with Charlie are a balm for Alice's soul, but when she looks up and sees his piercing green gaze directly on her, she begins to worry for her heart, because Alice sees people. That's why she is so good at what she does, but she never met someone who looks and sees her right back. This is going to be a sweet summer read, I think, and I think I'm gonna like it. It is also set to be it is expected to be published by May 6th next year. I'm very excited for that. And the cover is so gorgeous. I love Carly Fortune's book covers, honestly. The next book, and I'm betting that this is one of everybody's most anticipated new releases of next year, is Emily Henry's book, A Great Big Beautiful Life. Fun. Okay, so let's read the blurb of the book. Two writers compete for the chance to tell the larger-than-life story of a woman with more than a couple of plot twists up her sleeve in this dazzling and sweeping new novel from Emily Henry. Alice Scott is an eternal optimist, still dreaming of her big writing break. Hayden Anderson is a Pulitzer Prize-winning human thundercloud, and they're both on balmy little Crescent Island. I was gonna say Crescent City. Is this a sign for me to read the Crescent City, though? Anyways. And they're both on balmy little Crescent Island for the same reason, to write the biography of a woman no one has seen in years, or at least to meet the octogenarian who claims to be the Margaret Ives. Tragic heiress, former tabloid princess, and daughter of one of the most storied and scandalous families of the 20th century. This is fun. When Margaret invites them both for a 1-month trial period, after which she'll choose the person who'll tell her story, there are 3 things keeping Alice's head in the game. 1. Alice genuinely likes people, which means people usually like Alice, and she has a whole month to win the legendary woman over. 2. She's ready for this job and the chance to impress her perennially unimpressed family with a serious publication. 3. Hayden Anderson, who should have no reason to be concerned about losing this book, is glowering at her in a shaken-to-the-core way that suggests he sees her as competition. But the problem is, Margaret is only giving each of them pieces of her story, pieces they can't swap to put together because of an ironclad NDA, and an inconvenient yearning pulsing between them every time they're in the same room. And it's becoming abundantly clear that their story, just like the tale Margaret's spinning, could be a mystery tragedy or love ballad, depending on who's telling it. Oh my god. Okay, this is set to be published on April 22nd. April is gonna be a heck of a month. So the next book on my 2025 TBR is Keeping 13 by Chloe Walsh, which is going to be the continuation of Binding 13. I'm going to continue that series next year because I just know that with only a month left of the year, I just know that I really want to just like take things slow by the end of the year and just enjoy my time with my family and just enjoy the holiday seasons. And yeah, so really I'm so hyped to start 2025, honestly, with all the new releases and all of the books that I'll be reading next year. I'm so excited. The next book that I really want to read next year, hopefully it gets published here in Indonesia. Again, it is so hard to find books here in Indonesia. They only have a couple of like the popular books, but some of the other books that are not quite as popular, I think it is because of the publishing houses that they have here in Indonesia, and I don't know, maybe they're like work agreement well, I don't really know what goes on in publishing world, but yeah, some books that are available in the US are not available here in Indonesia, so it's kind of hard when I put books like this one, which is by Cara Bastone, is Ready or Not and Promise Me Sunshine. I'm very excited for those two books because I've not read Ready or Not yet, which was published last year. Was it last year? Was it last year or this year? I think it was last year. But I couldn't find that book here, so yeah, I'm really hoping that they will finally publish it here in Indonesia. So, Ready or Not by Cara Bestone, I'm going to read again the blurb of the book. A surprise pregnancy leads to even more life-changing revelations in this heartfelt slow burn friends to lovers romance of found family and unexpected love. Follow the tropes that I love. Eve Hatch is it Evie or is it Eve? I think it's Eve. Eve Hatch is pretty content with her life. Her apartment in Brooklyn is cozy and close to her childhood best friend Willa, but far from her Midwestern traditional family who never really understood her. While her job is only dream adjacent, she's hoping her passion and hard work will soon help her land a more glamorous role. And sure, her most recent romantic history has consisted of not one but two disappointing men named Derek. At least she always knows what to expect until she finds herself expecting after an uncharacteristic one-night stand. The unplanned pregnancy cracks open all the relationships in her life. Eve's loyal friendship with Willa is feeling off right when she needs her most, and it's Willa's steadfast older brother Shep who steps up to help. He has always been friendly, but now he's checking in, ordering her surprise lunches, listening to all her complaints, and is suddenly kinda hot. Then there's the baby's father, who is supportive but conflicted. Before long, Eve is rethinking everything she thought she knew about herself and her world. Over the course of 9 months, as Eve struggles to figure out the next step, the next right step in her expanding reality, she begins to realize that family and love in all forms can sneak up on you when you least expect it. I've seen really great reviews on this book, and it was published this year. Really great things about this book, and so I'm very intrigued, hoping that it will be published or it will be made available here in Indonesia because I absolutely want to read this book. I'm excited for that. And now moving on to her new release that is coming out next year, which is Promise Me Sunshine. Hold on, I haven't put this on one to read. Hold on. Lenny's a bit of a mess at the moment. Her best friend Lou recently passed away after a battle with cancer, and her death has left Lenny feeling completely lost. She's avoiding her concerned parents, the apartment she shared with Lou, and the list of things she's supposed to do to help her live again. The only thing she can do is temporary babysitting gigs, and luckily she just landed a great one, helping overworked single mom Reese and her precocious daughter Ainsley. It's not perfect. Ainsley's uncle Miles always seems to be around, and is kind of a huge jerk. But if Lenny acts like she has it all together, maybe no one will notice she's falling apart. Miles sees right through her though. Turns out he knows a lot about grief, and surprisingly he offers her a proposition. He'll help her complete everything on her live again list if she'll help him connect with Ainsley and overcome his complicated relationship with Reese. Lenny doubts anything can fill the Lou has left behind, but she begins to spend more time with Miles. Lenny is surprised to discover that sometimes losing everything is only the first step to finding yourself and love again. This is very, very intriguing. And this book is set to be published on March 4th of 2025. Again, I think March and April are going to be one of the most fascinating months of next year, so I'm very excited for that. Next book on my list is It's a Love Story by Annabelle Monaghan. I've never read any of her books. Let's read the blurb. From the US Today best-selling author of Nora Goes Off Script, a novel about a former adolescent TV punchline who has left her awkwardness in the rearview mirror thanks to a fake it till you make it mantra that has her on the cusp of success until she tells a lie that sets her on a crash course with her past, spending a week in Long Island with the last man she thinks might make her believe in love. Rules for a love story: there are none. It's all a lie. Jane Jackson knows that true love is a lie. Laughter is the only truth. You can't fake a belly laugh. Jane should know. She spent her adolescence as poor Janie Jakes, the barbecue sauce in her braces punchline and on America's fifth favorite sitcom. Now she's a creative executive at Clearwater Studios and she's living by a new mantra: fake it till you make it. Except she might have faked it too far. Desperate to get her first project greenlit and riled up by a pompous cinematographer. Wow, that is huge words. Cinematographer and one-time crush Dan Finnegan. She opened her mouth and a big fat fib fell out. She claimed that Jack Quinlan, hottest pop star of the moment, has promised to write an original song for the soundtrack. Jack may have been her first kiss and greatest source of shame, but she hasn't spoken to him in 20 years. Now Jane must turn to the last man she'd ever want to owe, Dan Finnegan, because Jack is playing a festival in Dan's hometown on Long Island and Dan has an in. A week in close quarters with Dan while facing down her past in Jane's idea of hell, but Dan just might surprise her. While covering up her lie, can they find something true? This is very, very interesting. I'm excited for this because I think it's going to be a very unpredictable kind of book. So, yeah, this is set to be released on May 27th next year, so I'm very excited for that. I think it's going to be fun. Change of Heart by Fallon Ballard. I read one of her books last year, and it turned out to be one of my favorite books of last year, so I'm very excited to read this new release next year. Hopefully it will be available in Indonesia again. But let's read the blurb. Campbell Andrews despises exactly three things in incompetence, tardiness, and love stories. Making partner at her law firm at 34, she has no time for anything or anyone else, and certainly no respect for those who choose love over work. That is until she wakes up in Hard Springs, her own personal hell. The good news? She's not dead. She's been magically transported to a small town straight out of a Hallmark channel, complete with a meddling mayor, seasonal festivals, and friendly townsfolk. Cam can't stand it, but in order to make it back to her real life, she has to fulfill three tasks. Most importantly, she has to find true love. It seems impossible, but anything's possible with a change of heart. Why is this giving a novel love story and also Gilmore Girls? It's really exciting now. I am excited for this book, and it is said to be it is expected to be published by February 11th, so that's a lot more near than the others, and I'm very excited for that. Two Twisted Crown by Rachel Gillick, which is the last book in the Shepherd King series. It is a duology by Rachel Gillick. Again, I said this before that I read One Dark Window last month, and I'm very excited to jump into Two Twisted Crown. I did talk about One Dark Window in my first Bookmas video for my favorite books in 2024, so you can go ahead and head to that video if you haven't already to really see my thoughts on One Dark Window. So that's that. And the last book currently on my 2025 TBR is The Rom-Commers by Catherine Center, because it has just been made available here in Indonesia, and I'm hoping that I get it for Christmas. Maybe I will buy it for myself this Christmas. I'm very excited to read The Rom-Commers. I've been eyeing that book since the beginning of the year, and ever since, obviously, because I finished reading Hello Stranger, I've been craving for more Catherine Center book, so I'm very excited for that. That is currently all of the books that are on my 2025 TBR. I am sure as the year goes on, I will be adding more books into the TBR, and yeah, again, it's not the end of the year yet, so probably will find more books to put on the 2025 TBR, but as of now, those are all the books on my 2025 TBR. Let me know in the comments if you guys have any other books that you guys would want to suggest me reading, or if you guys want to share 2025 TBR. It would be super fun to chat about. And yeah, that is all for today's video. I'll see you guys in tomorrow's video. Goodbye.